you shouldn't even hear the word cheap. You should hear the best coverage, value. You should hear, so when my son's car gets stolen, this is how the claim goes.
And get our clients to love us more than all the other people out there. And they aren't going to love us if they don't know us.
We're putting the customer in the center of absolutely everything that we do. And that's what we need to be doing, because if our phone stops ringing, we got bigger problems. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our blog this week, our blog Banter. I am here with the amazing Therese Insurance Ninja Potter and Stephen Harrington Dakota, the intentional diva of insurance. We're going to talk today about renewal reviews and how to reduce remarketing in your agency by conducting really effective renewal reviews. So remarketing is, how are you guys feeling about remarketing in this space?
Bad.
You know what?
This is like, man. Everything's like,
I felt like I did it all the time and I just jumped to it. And now it's like, what the heck was I thinking?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just, it makes no sense to just jump to a remarket when you're not even looking at the policy and what it has and the discounts and what's missing or what may fallen off. So you jump into it, you look, is there accidents, is there violations? Did the client do something? And then you just jump right over to a remarket. And there's got to be more. We've got to dig deeper.
Yeah, I agree. I think, we've kind of built our own monsters, right? I mean, those triggers in our systems, and our agency management systems are great, right? But we became so reliant on those triggers in our systems as agencies to say, oh, if the client's rate goes up over 10% or 15%, they're going to be mad. They're going to be upset. They're going to want something from us. And so we've kind of, done this to ourselves and created our own beast. And if it goes up X amount of dollars, we're just going to get another quote. And I don't know that that's necessarily the best approach. I think if I had those hours back that I spent unnecessarily remarketing in my insurance career, I could probably have a real skinny body. I might be able to spend, if I spent all those hours that I spent remarketing walking, my life might be a little different right now. So I would love to hear from Stephen. How about approaching remarketing and being able to reduce remarketing by conducting a renewal review with our client?
I have shared the story all across the land, and I shall share it once again with our valued listeners currently. We did this thing when I worked at an agency called Agency Performance Partners Retention Program. It's available for self-study with our online school. You can do it virtual or live with your team with one of ours. Just saying, it was a shameless plug. I believed in the program so much. It worked so well for the agency I was at. I'm now here training it because it's amazing. But what we found is once we started treating all clients equally, spending the same amount of time with every client versus the time wasters and not, and really respecting our own time and really providing value to our client by having conversations with our client and doing the review year after year. After about the first 16, 12 to 15 months, I want to say, the call volume actually dropped at our agency because clients were like, oh, they're just going to call me. They were freaking out loud. After we hit that second touch point, the second year of the renewal review in a row, clients were like, oh, they called back again. Like, I can now trust that, like, year one is like, this is hokey. Like, you've never done it before. Why are you doing it now? And some clients were like, oh, I haven't heard from you for years. And we're like, I know. But once we got to year two, clients were like, oh, this is a real thing. And once we hit year three, clients trusted us. And it was something built in, and it became part of our agency promise to our clients. So as we were onboarding new clients, we would even tell them, don't worry, we reach out once a year proactively to review your account with you. If you want to, that's great. If you don't, let us know. but you're going to have the opportunity. We're going to reach out. We'll leave you a voicemail if you're unavailable, send you an email. We try to make it as easy as possible. And I think it also gave everybody in the office the chance to provide the same experience in the same way. So it wasn't that Teresa's doing it one way and Bobby's doing it another and Stephen's doing it another, but the clients started getting a much more cohesive experience together as well.
And I think that's so important, right? Like to make sure that we have structure that is repeatable. It's a repeatable process within the agency is how we're going to protect our agency as well from E&O exposures. And it also creates that, I like to call it, the mom versus dad scenario where, they're going to hang up and call back and think that they're going to get Stephen because they're going to get a different answer because they didn't like Bobby's answer. They didn't like Teresa's answer. But if we are all in alignment with how we are going to handle these customers, they know that they're going to get the same experience and they're going to trust the entire team. That now our book is not relying on, I can only talk to Bobby, or I can only, how many agencies have we walked into where someone says, oh, I can't send that over to that because my clients only want to talk to me.
Those are my clients, Bobby, not the agency's client.
Right.
Those are my clients.
Right. But if we can feel confident and we know that our team is all providing us consistent experience to our client and our client is also experiencing that, how wonderful and freeing is it to know that, hey, my client can get handled on a first call resolution and we don't have to do the phone tag thing.
And we're working with the agency right now that switched systems about a year ago. And part of their renewal review process is just to reach out to clients and make sure the information's still correct in the file, right? Like it was a conversion. We know sometimes those can be a little messy. The team was like, how can we make calls and learn a new system at the same time? And we're like, what's a better way to learn a new system than have a structured something that we're going to follow consistently? And they're like, well, the numbers are messed up or the numbers missing. And we're like, great. So send an email. Like, let's problem solve some of this stuff. But by next year, the client's going to be used to hearing from us, first of all. And second of all, the information's up to date in file and we know it's accurate so we can have a better conversation when the client does call in.
Yeah. And I think that is key to what we're doing here. Like we got to have better conversations. And I think, Stephen and I were just on a training where he mentioned this too, which is, we got to slow down. We can't be so transactional and we have to have conversations and build relationships.
And I think instead of having that conversation every single year where the client's calling in and say, hey, my rate went up again. Can you requote me again? Instead of those clients knowing the word remarket, requote, rewrite, shop even, you were proactively reaching out to them, reviewing their accounts. They trust in you. You've built that rapport and you're not rewriting a client or requoting or remarketing a client every single year because they expect that. I had a friend call me because his son's car got stolen and he was talking to me about, what do I do? What if this happened? And I said, well, your agent should have called you and should be in touch with you about this situation because of the claim. And he said, oh yeah, she's a really good agent. She reshops my insurance and makes sure I have the cheapest rate every year. And this is, and this is, he's a professional. So he's, home auto, he's got 2 kids, umbrella. So it should be a high value customer that you're not, oh, let me reshop them and find them the cheapest rate. You shouldn't even hear the word cheap. You should hear the best coverage, value. You should hear, so when my son's car gets stolen, this is how the claim goes. You shouldn't be hearing they're reshopping me every year to get me the cheapest rate. So I think we've got to get out of the scenario where we're remarketing and requoting and we're wasting time. We're wasting valuable time that we could be using to review current policies, check for discounts, and make sure that they have the correct coverage, upsell if we need to make sure that the coverages are correct and that they've got the deductibles that work for their life. Because if we're not, we're going in the wrong direction.
Well, and ethically, that is our job as an agent, right? So my job is to identify those missing areas, communicate that information to my client, and then allow them to make the best decision for themselves and their families and businesses, and then document the system if they decline those coverages so I can protect my agency. So I think we've hit home pretty well about, the importance of the renewal review. We know that, right now we're having a lot of challenges working with some of our carriers. And that's just kind of the landscape that we're in. Our carriers are suffering. They are bleeding. They're bleeding from a staffing standpoint, a money standpoint, a technology standpoint. I think I read an article the other day that even carriers invested a lot in technology, but it's not scalable. And so they're trying to catch up to this space now too. And so they've had a lot of high turnover. So what are some of the ways that we can be effectively more working with our carriers and our insurer partners?
I think knowing their features and what they do well, knowing the characteristics of that company and those policies, getting to know the underwriters in some way, shape, or form where you know what is a good risk to them and what is a bad risk. I mean, we know when a risk is not a good risk. And before we used to just kind of, we'll just put blinders on and we'll pretend like we didn't see it. But now in this day and age with everything that's going on, we have to take those blinders off. We have to be very clear about the policies, what they, the risk, what the client has. And we have to start kind of pre-underwriting so we know where that client fits into what carrier. And we have to be smart. If it's something that if you were the carrier and you wouldn't write it, don't submit it to the carrier. Maybe it's one of those risks that you want to give to your competitor. So we have to be very clear on what it is that company is taking, what they do well with, and we kind of match. It's kind of like matching your carrier to your client. You're matching, you want to make sure you get them in the right place, not only for the carrier, but also for the customer. So you're doing a due diligence for both of them.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's all, are we swiping left or are we swiping right on the carriers? But let's imagine that, we probably don't have as many carriers available to swipe left and right on now. So we have to be really thoughtful and strategic about it. What are your thoughts on that, Stephen?
I think that we need to make sure that we are talking to the client first and doing the review so that we know if it's a good fit for one of our other market. Like if their increase is ridiculous or there's a reason that they have to move, we need to make sure we're really qualifying it for the market that we're trying to place it with. I think that by having the conversations with the client, a lot of times we're putting their mind at ease to begin with because we're providing an experience and giving them some additional information. And that helps to reduce the amount of times we have to remarket. But if we really do, we have to be cautious about where we place it because it can cause more problems for the client with the change in carrier appetite. And I think a lot of carriers are going to start becoming a lot more dependent on inspections and requiring additional information. And is it really worth the client's time, effort, and energy to save a few dollars? And is it worth our time, effort, and energy to save a few dollars to go through that whole process again? Whether it's commercial, personal, whatever, we need to honor both the carrier and our insured, but we have to honor both of their time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we need to go back and remember as fantasy as it might seem right now, and as painful as it may be to deal with our carriers, they really are our partners in this. And so, just like we're our client's path of least resistance, our current carrier is our path of least resistance as the agent. So get with your underwriter, negotiate on your accounts, talk with them. What are discounts that are available? Let them know, hey, this is profitable business. We don't want to have to move it. What can we do to help this client? Open up those lines of communication, have those conversations, ask for credits. Are they going to give them to you? Maybe, maybe not. So be strategic about when we ask for exceptions and credits, but I think conversations can still be had. We just need to be picking up the phone.
Yes. We
Pick up
have
the
to build a
phone.
relationship so we can survive and get our clients to love us more than all the other people out there. And they aren't going to love us if they don't know us.
That's right. That's right. I don't think you can build a strong relationship over email. And people can fight me on it all day long, but it's just like going back to the dating app, right? Like we swipe left and right, and then maybe we send some text messages back and forth, but eventually we're going to get on the phone and we're going to meet in person and we're going to go on a date. We're going to understand, does this work or does this not work? Because we're going to get to know one another. And we've become so reliant on technology, which is the next thing that we're going to talk about, that we forget that our phone works both ways. It also carries voice, not just emails and text.
What?
I know, it's shocking, right? So I think we need to spend some time really understanding the needs of what we're doing. And let's be honest, our carriers want to write profitable business just as much as our agency wants to write profitable business. So let's understand the needs of where we're going and what we're doing. And when the time is right to remarket, but I think to Stephen's point, let's make sure we qualify it. Let's make sure we have really great agency standards about when a remarket happens and when it's approved and when it's not approved, and then follow those guidelines. So let's talk a little bit about technology and utilizing technology with renewal reviews. I would love to hear from you guys. What are some of your favorite ways to use technology when optimizing, doing renewal reviews with clients?
I love automated emails to a client that's saying, hey, it's time for your review. Here's a link to my calendar. Book a time. Pick up the phone and call me. If I don't hear from you, I'll reach out next week.
Mm-hmm.
Like putting it kind of the first step in the client's hand to know that either they can do it or we're going to be calling.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I think it makes a lot of agents more comfortable in calling because now they've told the client that they were going to call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think there's also the accountability piece of now, if I don't call and I said I was going to call, I look dumb.
Yeah.
If it's automated, it tends to happen more.
Right.
Well, and I think just having the information at our fingertips, because we probably can all remember when we had to go grab a folder and flip through a folder to find information. And now the information is so easy. And not only the information about the policy and the carrier, but also, information online that we can access for the homeowners, the properties. It just, all of this stuff is so much easier accessible for us to use and know where it is. It's just easy to grab it and use it. We just have to be using our management systems wisely. And I know that our management systems have cute little things that, ins and outs and different things we can use to grab hold and help us with the renewal reviews. We just have to make sure that we're familiar with each and every one of those. And it takes time to learn those. I hate it when people don't learn the technology and don't try to improve and try to let the technology help them. Like I talked to somebody the other day that still had a flip phone. And he was like, one of these days, I'm going to have to switch over to a smartphone because this flip phone's not working anymore. And I'm like, you will have no idea. It's like buying a new car and getting all that new technology. One of the things in new cars I love is the blind spot indicator on those mirrors.
Yeah.
So just like a new car or a new smartphone, our technologies and our management systems, they improve, they get better, and we need to use them to our advantage. It makes life easier. And if we fight them, we're just making things harder and making it harder on ourselves and our coworkers because we don't want to change and improve and learn the technology, when what we're really doing is we're making it hard on ourselves. So we have to use that technology to get better.
I agree. I think agencies, they get bright, shiny object syndrome, and they add a lot of technology to their tech stack that sometimes they may or may not need. And so all my InsurTech people out there listening, don't kill me when I say this, but an agency really needs to understand what their current technology offers them before they just go out and start adopting and adding new technologies into that tech stack because it becomes overwhelming. It's overwhelming for the agency from a cost perspective. It's overwhelming to their staff because how do you get a staff to adopt all this new technology? And then the agency principal feels like, oh, I'm wasting all of this money on this technology that's not being utilized, but you may already have a solution that you're not even aware of. And Stephen, how many times do we go into an agency and they're utilizing this much of their agency management system's power, right?
And that's one of the first conversations we love to have is like, that your existing management system can do a lot of this. Or they're like, the reporting in our system sucks, so we had to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, let's find out why it sucks. Like, we're not using the system correctly.
Right.
And I think that really getting it in line helps us empower our customers to have a better experience as well.
One, I just need to mention that I can't tell you how many CEOs or agency owners will go to the big CEO agents group meetings and they'll hear one person say something about this technology and this technology and this technology. They'll come back and they'll just dive in and buy the technology. They don't consult their staff. They don't talk to their managers. They don't ask if we need it. They just heard that another agent was using it and this is what it helped them improve. And they jump on it and they buy it and then they throw it out to their staff and they're like, here, start using this.
With no plan, right?
Yes.
No plan to execute, no plan to adopt, no plan to track.
Yes, it drives me crazy. I cannot tell you how many times that happened. And it's just like, why did you think we needed this? And it's supposed to do what? But we already have this system that does that. So you really need to do your research. Just, don't jump in and purchase technology just because you as an owner think you need it. You need to talk to your staff. You need to review. You need to figure out, do you have something that will already do that? And then you're not buying more. Don't grab all these different technologies just because you heard somebody else is using it and it's working for them. It may not work for you.
I agree. I think that that's such a great point. And, it's been a frustration with a lot of agencies that either I've worked in or worked with is, the adoption of new technology. If we're going to make an investment like that, we really need to fully understand what our current technology that we have with inside the agency is offering from a client experience standpoint to our end users who are dealing with those clients and all of the metrics that we really, really need to be tracking for our agency. So we'll go ahead and, the last thing that I really want to talk about is some examples of case studies and some success stories on how these renewal reviews have really improved the lives of our clients. So
before we do that, we have to say bye to Stephen because he has to jump off the price.
I have an urgent client that needs training.
Then go get him, Tiger. We'll see you soon. Let's talk about some examples, Therese, of where maybe we've seen some improvement.
I just think going from a reactive response to those phone calls, we begin to respond to them. So we're not, oh my gosh, the customer's calling in and the rate went up and what am I going to do? We're really getting in the habit of, okay, your rate went up. Let me take a look. Let me review this information with you. Are these still the same? Is this the address, the phone number? Are these still the drivers? Are these the cars that are on the policy? I can see that you have your homeowner's policy with us as well. Let me just check and make sure the discounts are still there. Let me review your discounts for you. But I think as we respond and we think through how to walk the customer through getting to that final destination of showing value and not, it's about price, it's about price, it's about price. We've got to stop making it about that. So when we start focusing on reviewing instead of remarketing, we're refocusing everything on value. So let me be your valuable insurance agent. I have a license. I know how to do this. I know what these coverages are. I can understand you as the client and knowing what your needs are. So let me review those needs, make sure those needs are covered, make sure that you're getting the discounts, and come up with a final plan or a solution on what we're going to do. Now, the state may have gone up 25%. Your policy went up 10%. Let's see if there's a discount that we can reduce that increase, but let's talk through it. Let's review it. Let's educate our clients on it, and let's show the value through that education rather than just like, oh my gosh, let me remarket. Oh my gosh, let me requote you. I have all these carriers. Let me find one. That's not what we really want to do. And we've got a lot of clients out there that I wanted to mention that are really used to having exclusive agents or exclusive carriers. They're used to being with the Nationwides, the State Farms, the Allstates, the Farm Bureaus. So we have to start, and as we know, those carriers are starting to close their doors and not accept new risks. So we have to think about our clients, the ones that are used to being with the same carrier, the ones that are used to being with independent agents and different carriers. And we have to remember, we have to treat them differently. They're used to different things. So we have to kind of guide them in the direction that they need to go. If you have somebody that's used to being with an exclusive carrier, they're used to having everything with one company. And now that company won't write new business. So now they're going to be looking for a company that will write all of their business because they want everything in the same place. Mm-hmm. So we really have to take into consideration the client's feelings, what the client is used to, what they like. And we have to use that to our advantage, educating them on the coverages, on the carriers that may work best for them, and just stop reacting. We all have become a world of reacting. Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, all of our social medias, somebody will write something and we'll react to it. And sometimes it's really none of our business. Somebody just posted that the class of 2024, which my son is a senior, are not going to be able to graduate in June because the location they always graduate at has somebody booked the entire month of June. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? The school will figure it out. It's really none of our business.
Yeah,
so now
panic about it.
Yeah. So all these parents are panicking. They're freaking out. They're reacting. Yeah. And it's really none of our business. And we wouldn't even know about it if it wasn't for social media. So, we have to realize that we have to stop reacting and typing when we see something we don't like. Let's type an answer and let's fight and
immediately.
Yeah. Yes. So we have to, and what I'll do is I'll type a response and then I'll leave it there. I won't hit send. I'll just leave it on my phone. And then when I pick it up later and I look at it, I'm like, I really don't want to deal with this. I don't want the strengths. I don't want the responses to it. So I'll just delete it. So that's how I respond instead of react. So we as agents need to realize we've got to practice more. We have to role play. We have to be prepared for objections. We have to be prepared for, why did my rate go up? And we have to respond to those accordingly in an educated manner to where we're educating the client and we show our value to that client.
Yeah. I mean, I think, there's some really great examples, I think, of times where agents take a more and, everything that Therese was talking about is really an agency taking a customer-centric approach, right? It's
absolutely,
we're putting the customer in the center of absolutely everything that we do. And that's what we need to be doing, because if our phone stops ringing, we got bigger problems. That's how we make money. That's how agencies make money, is by having clients. And so we need to make sure that everything we do, the customer is the center of that focus, and that should be driving our business decisions. And then beyond that, the circle, it's kind of like those concentric circles. Beyond that is now, how do we insulate that customer experience by protecting our agency and making sure that our agency is operating smoothly and, running really efficiently and giving the customer absolutely everything that they need. If I'm doing a renewal review and I realize that my client doesn't have life insurance, and I send them over to my life department and they write them a health insurance, or they write them a life insurance policy, and then something happens. how great would it feel to know that something happens and, maybe dad's left with 3 kids and something happens to mom, and guess what? We referred her over and she bought that life insurance policy before something happened. How great does now that agency feel because we did our job? We did exactly what we were there to do, which is help them protect their financial wellness and their exposures, because we know that things can happen. And this is what insurance is, right? It's the known loss for the unknown loss. And so if we're taking the time to really have that customer-centric approach, keep the customer at the center of everything that we do, and help them and guide them make those really great decisions for themselves, our conversations are going to be a lot better than, no, we didn't add that rental car coverage on. Sorry, you have 7 children that you have to get back and forth to school, but you can only rent a Ford Fiesta.
Right.
And you can't rent a vehicle at all.
I think the renewal review process and implementing it throughout the agency so everybody's doing it the same is also huge, because then we're all doing it the same. So if I leave a voicemail and my customer calls back and has to speak to Bobby instead of speaking to me, we're all doing it the same way. And I think that's also a way to show customers that the agency is valuable. We're showing our value, we're educating, and we're all doing it the same way. When you have people doing it in different ways, it kind of, it gets kind of sticky on, how somebody else is going to pick up if you're not there, if you win the lottery at lunch. So those processes and those procedures, doing those renewal reviews to basically avoid and deter people from remarketing, because, you may remarket them now, but guess what's going to happen next year? That where you put them is probably going to go up, and then they're going to expect to remarket again, because every time you mention a remarket, when the price changes, you're just damning yourself and getting on that hamster wheels.
Yeah, absolutely. So, to conclude and wrap up here, I think we've really established that renewal reviews are going to be key to reduce remarketing for your agency. And that's going to give time back to your account managers to be creating those relationships and really fostering those relationships. And, by doing renewal reviews, we do see that it increases retention for agencies. And so bottom line is, it helps your customer, it helps your agency, and it helps your agency's growth. So if you are interested in, how to implement renewal reviews with your agency, schedule a call with us now. We are here to help you through that. We do have our freemium content that is available. It's the Renewal Review Process Planner. It's a great document that you can use in your agency to help you get updated and start thinking about the process on how to plan with your team to launch renewal reviews. Please, just like we talked about technology, don't go back and just slam a list down on everybody's desk and say, start making calls today. You need a plan. So if you don't have a plan, but you need help, you can also get consulting hours from us. And then we also have our discount products. We have 20% off our process packs right now. So you use the code IMPROVE, you get 20% off, and that promo ends on the 30th of September. And so take advantage of those things, because scripts are key and they're going to help our staff get through this time. So thank you, Therese and Stephen. We appreciated you being here with us and your insight for the time that you were. And we will see everybody next time. Have a great day.